Hello guys, and welcome for the recap of the third round of the Russian Superfinal Chess Championship 2015. And so today for this third round, we are going to watch the full game between Vladislav Artemiev, the teenager, 17 years old, playing against Artemiev-Motylev. It's an old force. He was European champion a few years ago, and well, he's a well-known Russian player. So the teenager went d4, d5. Teenager is white, Artemiev, c4. Here Motylev went with the accepted queen's gambit, e3 to retake the pawn, e5, bishop c4, that is theoretical, pawn d4. So we can see an Isolani now on d4, but we'll talk about that a bit later. Bishop d6, knight f3, developing the pieces, knight f6, castle. So that's the first stop we have in this game. So here we have the Isolani. I made a good video explaining the in and the outs of the Isolani in chess. The thing here is that when you have the Isolani, so for the white piece, you have some activity because you control central squares. You have like a central pawn, so it's give you those two squares. So that's the good thing about the Isolani. It gives you control of important square in the opponent territory, so you have some kind of dynamism and activity. The downside of the Isolani is that it's an isolated pawn. So I mean there are no pawns coming to protect it. It means only pieces can protect this pawn. And this means that the less pieces will be on the board, the less the dynamism and the activity will be important, and the more the pawn will be weakened. So that's a quick preview of the Isolani here. So white in this position plays the move h3. This move makes a lot of sense because it's one of the first thing my teacher when I was like 7-8 years old taught me in this kind of position, is that when a bishop comes on g4, it pins your knight, and this is always big trouble. So you better go h3, a prophylactic move. You stop the bishop from coming to g4, and you get an escape square for the king as well. So very logical move here by white, the move h3. Black goes knight c6, so he's attacking the Isolani. He's not playing the c6 move, like sometimes you like to play c6 to stop the pawn from pushing, but here it's a bit too slow. So knight c6 played, knight c3, and here there is a game between Yakovenko and Grichuk, where Grichuk played the move h6. It's a move that makes a lot of sense to me because, as I said, for white, it's the same for black. You don't want this knight to get pinned. And you can check this game on your database, Yakovenko Grichuk. And Motylev here played a less popular move, the move bishop f5. I really dislike this move because now white went bishop g5, and we have this pin, and this is very annoying. Like if you play queen d7, by example, to get away from the pin, your opponent just take, and your king is too weak. So you can't play like that. You cannot play like that. This is pretty bad for black. And if you go bishop e7, I mean, your bishop was well placed on the e6 on d6 square, and now you retreat your bishop and you give white time to develop its pieces. So I mean, you don't love to lose the tempo, and this bishop, when the rook will be in front, is also kind of weak. It's hard to attack the pawn because you have 2 against 2. It's pretty easy for white to defend that. So the rook will come to d1, and the pawn will be pushed to d5 at some point. So you don't want to play bishop e7 here as well. So what did Motylev? He plays eh6, forcing the bishop to move backward, and pawn to g5. You know, guys, this move when your king is on g8, I don't like it. ABC's chess school, you don't want to push the pawn in front of your king. Now, Artemiev played an amazing move. He took the pawn with the knight. But we could have gone just simply bishop g3, pawn g3, bishop g6, so I just inputted logical move. So as you see, I want to say that the f7 pawn is slightly weak. The white king has two good squares, I mean h1 or h2, to get behind the pawn. For example, bishop g6, d5, knight b4, trying to look at some squares, and knight e5. And the black pieces are really loose. I mean, this knight on f6, always in trouble because of the rook. The bishop on g6 not really protected because this pawn might be pinned. The king, I mean, look at that. All the dark squares now, this long diagonal is open. When it goes on h7, I'm sorry, I don't really like it. At some point, you can just take and bring the bishop to g3. I mean, this is not looking good for black. It's not a disaster, but I mean, it's not looking good. So only a simple move like bishop g3 is pleasant for white. But here, the teenager, fearless, goes knight take g5, pawn take g5, and bishop g5. And what he wants to say is that your knight, you know what? It's really annoying. You really cannot play. You really can't move it. And your king on g8. Look, I have my bishop. Looking at that, your pawn is pinned. So when you go bishop g6, maybe you wanna lose that because it's not protected. And I mean, your position is really just you're just hanging. In fact, the computer says it's equal. I mean, we would have to analyze position, but it's maybe slightly better for black, maybe just equal. But I mean, the dynamic of the game is like Artemiev is the one that is punching now, and he has a slight. He has a slight psychological advantage. Like not psychological, but I mean it's easier to play for him. So black goes rook e8, taking the open file, and maybe freeing a place for the rook, a square for the king, place for the king. Here, Artemiev played queen d2, and you will see it was not the ideal move. The best move here was probably rook e1. Well, rook e1 or bishop b5 was also playable. But let's see rook e1, queen d7. No, queen d7 is losing because of bishop f6. So you cannot play queen d7, sorry. So rook e1, queen e1, bishop e7, and rook d1. Could have been played. Unclear position. It's 2 pawns for the piece. The king is weak. White will try to bring the rook on g3 and make the checkmate. It's a very unbalanced position. It's hard to say who is better, but this would have been a better move than queen d2. Queen d2 now is met by the thematical knight takes d4. So now after knight takes d4, if you take the knight, bishop h2 check, attacking the king and attacking your queen, king h2 and queen d4, and you just lost the queen. So knight takes d4, you cannot retake the knight, so Artemiev is bringing the rook to d1. So I mean, look at that. I mean, a lot of problems for black here, and if one day the queen might come to g5, it will be awful for black. So it's just a pawn for the piece, but everything is hanging all over the place. So c5, bring the knight, b4. I mean, we just exchange pawns here. And rook e1. After rook e1, rook takes e1, queen takes e1. Black here is already better. I mean, he's a pawn up. He's a piece for the pawn, just with few moves that rise, but we are coming in a position where a lot of variation must be calculated, and Motylev at like 10 minutes, and he went bishop e6. We'll see later what should have been played. Here he should have played bishop e7, by example, queen e5, and bishop e6, and here. What is amazing is that white is in trouble because black is threatening knight d7, hitting the bishop, and we cannot play the logical queen g3 because of knight h5, you see just hanging. And if bishop e7, knight takes g3 and bishop d8. Rook takes d8, pawn takes g3, and bishop takes c4. Let me slowly come back, just showing the line. So you see, knight h5 is attacking the queen, and we have no time to eat the pieces because we are losing material in the variation. So after queen e5, bishop e6, somehow black has many threats, and there are no good squares for the queen. Like the move you can play might be bishop e3 to stop those threats. It's really annoying. It's strange, but white doesn't really have good square for the queen. Bishop c4, bishop d4, pawn d4, rook d4, queen b6, and rook takes c4. So we could have arrived in this position. It's still unclear, but black should be okay here. The bishop is going to be a good piece to defend. As always, it's hard to give to evaluate those type of positions, especially while playing. It's a lot easier when you look the game afterward. But it was just to give you some variations that, like bishop e7 was really the move. White could have played queen e3 as well. Bishop e6, pawn e6 was also variations that could have arisen on the board. And white has, of course, ideas with rook d3, rook g3. It looks dangerous. It's not comfortable to play with black, but objectively, black is slightly better. Objectively, as the dynamic of the game, I would say white has better chances to win it. But here, what happened is that Motylev was short on time, and as yesterday, he made the blunder bishop e6. It's made by bishop takes c6, pawn takes c6. You cannot take with the knight because of bishop f6, queen f6, and rook takes d6. So you cannot grab it with the knight. You have to grab it with the pawn. Now, rook takes d4, eliminating the defender. Motylev goes bishop h2, which is losing on the spot. We'll see why. The only chance to keep the game on was to take with the pawn, queen e6, king g7, knight d5. Knight takes d5 here is forced. The only possibility to keep the king alive, because if not you lose the knight on f6 and this king is going to be checkmated. So knight takes d5, bishop d8, rook d8, and white can't retake the knight because of bishop h2 check, winning back the queen. And so white can play, by example, queen g4 with the idea to win back the d4 pawn. This is much better for white, but I mean you can keep playing for some times. But he went bishop h2 check, king h2, queen h4, queen e6 check, king g7, but he's forced to protect the knight. And I think he resigned here. I analyzed a bit further, but I think after knight e2 he resigned. The thing is that after knight e2, queen b2, this is already 1-0. But if we continue queen b2, it's not easy to understand why he resigned. I mean, his material is still almost equal. The thing is that white plays queen f4, threatening bishop f6, queen f6, and knight h5 check. So black goes rook f8. Okay, we can win an exchange, but we can make it even more dirty. Queen f5, threatening queen g6 and knight e6 with a pin. Rook f7, defending. Knight e6 check. King h8. And pawn to f4. The thing is that if we go queen g6 check, he goes queen e5. Queen g6, he goes queen e5 check, making a fork. And here black is just paralyzed. You cannot play any move. Like, you don't have even a move. You can't move the knight because you lose the rook. You can't move the king because it's queen g6 check. And the queen has to stay either on c3 or a1. And the next move coming is queen g6, straining the rook, straining the knight. I mean, if you go on the 7th, read the knight, and if we go on the 8th rank, we checkmate you. So this was a very impressive game by Artemiev, going in a very sharp position, and it was just how to say that? Oh, just a pretty impressive game. Shame for Motylev. It's a back-to-back blunder for him, but the blunder he made yesterday was really painful because he was better. In this position, it was always hard to play precisely, and he just blundered. So we go to the next game I want to show you today. Is the game between Tomashevsky and Lisyj. Tomashevsky was sharing the first place before this game with 1.5 points out of 2. It's mid-game. We have those 2 pawns controlling the center for Tomashevsky against only 1 pawn for black. But in the long term, white might have problem with this pawn on h5, so he should play actively. Active play by Tomashevsky means d5 here, making a pass pawn. So if you wanna win the pawn, like take, don't forget that your queen is attacked, so you have no time to take on d5. This is the easy tactic. So he wants knight c4, centralizing the knight. We trade pieces, knight to e5 now. So Tomashevsky is really active. Rook c5, a logical move. The rook is protected on the 5th rank. Pawn to d6 now. So with the pawn on d6, it takes a lot of responsibility, because either the pawn is going to be a monster, either you're just gonna lose it in a couple of moves. Because look, you attack the queen, everything looks good, but I mean your knight is attacked, the pawn is behind, this pawn might be weak. So I mean, you have to be good in calculation. Here, Lisyj played queen d8. He could have tried queen h4. An interesting move, because you cover the f4 square, you attack the pawn, you have a look at this pawn, you still look at the d8 square. Could have continued like d8, rook d8, queen d6, rook c2, trying to attack, and rook d2. I like white here much, because this knight on e5 is a monster pulling the pawn. You will have to play g6 earlier or later. And I mean, I like white more. I think it's a good advantage, but it's not over. Lisyj went queen d8. It's not a bad move. Queen f4. So that's why I offered queen h4, because this queen is really on a good spot. I mean, attacks f7, it protects d6. So Lisyj play f6, logical move. Get to kick this knight away. Knight g6, straining the rook. Rook f7. So here the idea of Lisyj would be to play e5 and rook d7. Because look, if the pawns are on dark squares, the bishop is on the light squares. We always talk about that, but it's about pawn structure. It's important. You have the pawn on dark squares, the bishop on the light squares. The king is not in much danger if we have time to play e5, and back is okay. So of course Tomashevsky goes e5 here. He doesn't want to let him do that. Pawn to e5. Knight e7 check. If you take on e7, take back. You have no time to take the queen, because white would take your queen, making a queen. So no time for this tactic. He goes king f8, knight g6 check, playing some repetition move. As said Kasparov, he said, I like to play the repetition move because it let the hope to my opponent that I might make the draw, and so I can watch as his face and feel that I have my hand on the game, like I'm the one choosing if I want to draw with you or not. So might be psychological as well. I don't know, maybe it was for time, maybe psychology. So queen g4 now. So moving the queen away on a good spot. You are watching at the e6 pawn and maybe g7 pawn in some lines. Bishop d5, and here Tomashevsky played knight takes d5, but he missed knight g6, king g8, rook takes e5, and you will see what he missed. queen takes d6 seems logical. I'm sure he saw this position. And here I give you 10 seconds to see what Tomaszewski missed. So you can pause the video, either takes the 10 seconds. Okay, and what missed here, Tomaszewski, is that after rook e6, queen e6, queen e6, bishop e6, white has rook d8 check, king h7, and rook h8 checkmate, and you see that this pawn that is a weakness in the endgame is a killer in the mid game. So I believe he missed rook e6 because was probably they were short on time, and it's not easy to see those tactics. So he played, instead of knight g6, knight takes d5, pawn takes d5, rook takes d5, and queen takes d6. So black has a pawn up, but the king is weak. And the thing when you have a weak king is that when only heavy pieces are on the board, the weak king is often exposed. So Tomaszewski starts with rook d e1, straightening rook e8 checkmate. Rook f6, saving the day. Rook e8 check, king f7. Now queen a4, straightening the a7 pawn. Rook c7, queen b5. So the queen is well placed, looking at the d5 pawn, looking at the e8 spot. Don't forget it's some line we can play rook f8, king takes f8, and queen e8 checkmate. I mean, those type of things might happen if you place your queen on a wrong spot. And of course, white might go queen e2 in order to triple the pieces on the e file. So black goes here queen c6, not a bad move. Queen e2, tripling on the e file. Queen c5, and here white plays a tricky move g3. I will explain you why it's tricky. Could have played rook e6, queen c2, rook takes f6, pawn takes g6, queen e8, king g7, and by example g3. Why do I show you this line? Is because it's really important that the queen can jump on c2 in order to look at the g6 square in this variation. I mean, when you go here rook e6, it's a key moment for black that he can play queen c2 in order to protect this this square. So that's why the move g3 was played. I mean, g3 is a good move because that's a move you want to play in a lot of variation to get the g2 square or h2 square for your king and be covered. So it's a good prophylactic move, and the thing is that it's not easy to play here. If you go, by example, rook b7, so here he went rook d7, that's what the move played. If you go, by example, rook b7, rook e6 is really annoying. Let me just reopen the the engine, because yeah, I just want to show you some lines. Is that you cannot make much here. The only good move he gives is rook queen c8, rook f6, king f6, queen f3 check, queen f5, and queen e3. Just giving a quick example just to show you that if you cannot come to c2, you are forced into variation where your king is really weak, and now next is coming queen e8, coming from behind, and I mean this is very, very, very annoying for black. It is already a very good advantage, close to winning. If you play precisely for white here, you are winning. So a move like rook b7 is not playable. The move he played in the game rook d7 is even worse. You will see why. So after g3, the only good move, it's almost the only move you can play, is a winning move like queen d6. You could have played a5. White as well. White could continue, by example, by a4, queen d7. You really have queen e5, rook b7, queen e2, rook c7. I mean, I'm just showing you that because those moves, rook c7, rook b7, are the only move you can really play. I mean, you're really in kind of a zugzwang. But it's unclear how white can progress here. If some of you have ideas of plan we could achieve in order to get a good advantage, you can tell me. It's not easy. I just inputted the move rook e5 because I wanted to go for this pawn. But black could go king g8, queen d4, and give back this pawn and try to defend with a king on better spots. So it's like giving up a pawn but trying to defend the position. It's not clear how white wins here. So I mean, g3 is a tricky move. It's like, you know, your opponent cannot move. It's really hard to find a move, and it's Petrosianic or Karpovian move. Just a waiting move, prophylactic waiting move. Just wait for the pieces to change their spot. It's a bit like Air Jordan making a three-pointer. He's flying forever. So here it's the same. You are waiting forever. So rook d7. And now the thing is that white plays rook e6, threatening rook takes and queen c8. So black has to go rook d8. If you go queen c8, it's not the game, it's a variation. Rook f6, pawn f6, queen e6, penetrating. King g7, queen f5 now, coming on the g6 spot. Queen d8, queen g6 check. King f8, pretty much forced. Rook e6, attacking two pawns. Rook f7, queen takes h6 now. King g8, queen g6 check. King f8, and the h pawn is the killer again, going for the queen, and you can't stop it. So after rook e6, the only two moves were queen c8 or rook d8 that was played. Rook takes f6, pawn takes f6, queen g4, trying to enter, rook g8, saving the day for the g6 square, but queen d7 is coming, and black here resigned because after king f8 is just made by rook e8, checkmate. So you cannot stop the checkmate. Or if you go queen e7, queen takes e7, checkmate. So he just resigned a move away from the checkmate. So we saw here the two games I wanted to show you. Let's go to see the standings. So the standings and the results. So Tomaszewski with this win against Lisyj is sizing the first place. He's first and he's alone with 2.5 out of 3. Artemiev, which won this beautiful game against Motylev, is coming back with coming back in the chasing group with 2 out of 3. Motylev, let's see in the ranking, is now last with Rizmatulin sharing the last places with his back-to-back blunders. We had a game, so let's go now on the right, watch a bit the results. The game between Bukavshin and Dubov was really interesting. It was a Dutch, and it went to a draw, but both players really fought for the win. Hyrule-Insvidler was a pretty quick draw. Koryakin had he was worse again today, but it was not enough for Vityugov to take the win. And Yakovenko drawn with Rizmatulin. I don't remember the game, but I think it was a game without a big history, like quickly drawn. What do we have tomorrow? Tomorrow we have who is playing the leader? So we have we have Vityugov, Tomaszewski. Yeah, the two players with 2,700 over 2,700 playing together. Will be a big game because Vityugov might want to stop the streak of Tomaszewski and win. Zvidler Rizmatulin. Zvidler has to win a game now in order to compete for the win. I guess he will try to win with the white pieces against Rizmatulin. And it will be interesting to see how Motylev recovers against Bukavshin. Bukavshin is playing really aggressive game all the way. I'm not sure Motylev is confident enough to go in a wild game with all the blunders. might be afraid to make a back-to-back blunder. So it will be interesting to see what happens, and let's watch tomorrow also Dubov Koryakin. Yeah, a lot of interesting game tomorrow again in the Russian Chess Championship. Thank you for watching this coverage. See you soon. Bye.